Hello, it's me, the man in your phone or computer, I don't judge. Welcome to the first ever episode of Crispy Duck Says Objective Things and Hurts the Community, otherwise known as a tier list. I'm doing a tier list today. So, this tier list is based off of active skills. So, let's get started, shall we? First up, we have Floating Device. Floating Device is really good, in my opinion. Launches you up. If it launches you up pretty high, you go like decently fast. I don't know. There's not really that much to say about it. It's just an overall good ability. I get A tier. Next, we have Smokescreen. Now, Smokescreen is interesting because I think Smokescreen is really, really underrated because when the game first came out, nobody used it because of one simple fact. It gets rid of the auto aim that the Raider has for a small amount of time. It's really good though. It's not as good as Floating Device, which is why I'm putting it in B tier, but like that has saved me a couple times actually ever since I started using it. Next up is Change Missile. Change Missile I used to think was bad. Simple as that, but ever since it got buffed, it's actually really good. Once again, not as good as Floating Device, but it's really good for movement. It combos really well with Floating Device in my opinion because then you're high up in the air and you're moving really fast. So I'm giving it B tier on its own, which is also how I'm ranking these. I'm not ranking them combined with any other, abilities, which we'll get to in a bit. But next we have Zipline Device. Zipline Device I feel like is really good. It's really underrated ever since the buff because it got buffed and now it's actually really like fast. I'd say I put it in B tier. Like that's very subject to change. I might bump it down to high C, but yeah. Charming Pose is it's an interesting one. It's a really easy to hit stun, but it doesn't last for that long. I I don't really like Charming Pose that much. I think if you're gonna use a stun, just use Solar Flare. But that's why I'm putting it in C. C for Charming Pose, I guess. I don't know. Next up, Flying Nimbus. Flying Nimbus, just like Change Missile and Zipline Device, was not very good before it got buffed. There was one buff that like changed a lot of movement, and Flying Nimbus was in that movement, and now it's honestly pretty good. I use it from time to time. I used it at the beginning of my channel. If you actually go back, yeah, I'd say easy B tier. Kaioken Rush. Kaioken is everyone loves it. I think it's really overrated, but I do still think it's a pretty good ability. I'd say I put it in A. It's pretty good. It's overrated as hell, but I mean, it's still a pretty good ability. You can get in and out of fights easy, and it does a small amount of damage. It does enough damage to the point where I've seen a couple of games be won. Like, the survivors have won because of Kaioken, which I find hilarious. But anyways, Trap Device is next. I love Trap Device. I know a couple people who use Trap Device. It's all around a really good thing, like really good skill. I'd say I put it in A. Not really much to say about it besides it's just really good, in my opinion. Okay, Change Camouflage. Now is when we get something that people are going to be mad at me for. Let's go. Change Camouflage is like Camouflage is one of those abilities where people think it's a lot better than it actually is. Like, I have seen people almost get away with using Change Camouflage when I was the Raider, but the thing is, not a lot of people know this when they use Change Camouflage, and it's that you still have the white ring around you when you're using it, which a lot of people don't actually know because they see the description where it says hides your like makes the enemy unable to lock onto you, and they're like, oh wow, that's really good, and they stop reading at that. They don't go, oh wait, it's for a couple seconds, if that. It's just not very good. I'm putting it in E. It's just laughably bad, but not as bad as something else. Grappling device. Best ability in the game, in my opinion. It's like, I don't think I've seen a single survivor that doesn't have it. And it's just all around a really good ability. S tier. Easy. Krillin's Shoe. This is this is an ability that I've tried to use and I can't. It's okay. It's a mediocre stun at best, and oh yeah, it's also a precision stun. It's not like Solar Flare or Charming Pose where you have an area of effect. Krillin Shoe is actually a projectile, which takes points off a lot. I'd say C tier at best. Solar Flare, best stun in the game to a lot of people. I personally agree with that. A tier, basically the only downside to it is that the raider has to be looking at you. But that's it, really. Listen, just the better version of Scouter, don't at me. Scouter, just the worst version of Listen, don't at me. Okay, Motorbike. This is another time where people are going to be mad at me. I don't think it's that good. I used to use it, and then I realized how friggin' annoying it is for the raider, and then it got nerfed, and now it's not good. It's C tier. Simple as that. You cannot change my mind until you show me someone doing something useful with this ability, besides running away and failing. Go Go Gum. I'd say B. There's not really that much to say about it. It's kind of just, it's a stun. I don't really know what else to say. It's a cool looking stun, but it's a stun nonetheless. It's kind of a precision one, but at the same time, it's not. It's really weird. I'd say just not really that much to say about it, actually. Fake Death. It's not good, but it's not bad. If you can land it, it's pretty good. I've seen people win games with it. C tier. Not really that much to say besides the fact that it's funny to make fun of people who died of Simon with it. Till. I think Till is underrated as hell. It's B tier because you have the chance to find an item, right? And that may not sound that amazing, but it's got a pretty short cooldown for an ability that can give you an item. Wall of Defense. Overrated. It's B tier. Lets you protect someone for a couple seconds, but leaves you vulnerable unless you have another escape thing, or if you have change, I guess. Not really that amazing, but not bad by any means. Item search is something that I don't see a lot of people using. No one that I know actually knows of its existence, and before making this tier list, I forgot it existed. So, yeah, that really tells you how amazing it is. But D tier, it shows you unopened boxes. Wow, that's so cool. It's still better than Scouter, though. Energy Field. Okay, now I'm going to start getting death threats in my email. Let's go. Energy Field I don't think is that good. Like I said when I was ranking Missile, I'm ranking these based on their use alone, not combined with other abilities, which is why Energy Field is a solid B. Because if you're using it by itself, guess what? After it's done, you're vulnerable. You can't do anything. But if you're using instant transmission with it, you get an instant escape, which if I was ranking these, with other things into consideration, they would both be an S. But the fact that I'm not is kind of just going, well, Energy Field isn't amazing. It's overrated. Shut up about it. Bancho fan. When this first came out, I really liked it. I thought it was a really cool idea to have, an ability that just pushes the raider back. And it pushes them back really far, to be fair, but it's not that amazing. It's a precision stun, or whatever you would call it. It's precision, which makes it not amazing. C tier, moving on. Enemy radar. This is something that I find really funny because the devs couldn't figure out what the hell to do with this ability. In the preview for said ability, they don't show it working. That's how bad it is. F tier, moving on. Instant transmission. Like I said with Energy Field, if I'm rating it based on how amazing it is, like on its own, A tier. If I'm ranking it based on how good it is with barrier, S tier. But guess what? It's staying in A tier. End of discussion. After image, B tier. Not really that much to say about it. I don't use it. I like barely see other people using it. It's kind of just, it exists. Frypan is broken. Not in the way that you might think, as in it's S tier. No, I mean broken as in it doesn't work as intended. When it first came out, it was broken with only circle key blasts could break it. No beams of any kind. No frisbees. No nothing could break it. But ever since they fixed it, it's not amazing. Now that a lot of raiders can break it. And then the second time, they just made it so that Yamu and Nappa couldn't go through it, which didn't really change that much. But yeah, it's B ever since it got fixed. If it wasn't fixed, it would be S. Moving on. Backup attack. It's just a rocket launcher. C. That it goes in C, the mid tier. I don't really care about it. So yeah. Power Unleashed is the second ability that deserves an S tier because it gives you free power, which you can use to absorb a super attack. You can use it to get a free super attack off. You can use it to run away. Like, it has so many uses. Like, Power Unleashed is just second best ability in the game, in my opinion. It's amazing. And lastly, Sand Potter Mode. This one I used to think was really good, and then they buffed it to change its cooldown. I just think it's B tier. It summons a pod, and it can be easily destroyed, which is why it's not in like S or A. But yeah. So that's it for my tier list. My opinions are objective. I respect your opinion unless you place Energy Field in S, and I'll see you next time.